The QC Step podcast is back after winter break, and we're coming back with a topic that some of you may be facing right now. On this episode, I'm going to talk with you about what you should do if your seasonal employment ends after the holidays. I'm also going to answer a student-submitted question on whether or not you should ask a particular question in a job interview, and I will give you this week's job leads. It's the week of January 13th through the 17th, and this is the QC Step Podcast. Hi, and welcome back from winter break. My name is Corey Finneran, and I am a transition specialist with the STEP program. I hope that you all had a nice time away from school, and if you're working a job, I hope that you were able to use that time away from school to work a lot and make a lot of money. This podcast is available on our website, qcstep.com, and it's in audio and video, and the video is closed captioned through YouTube service. You can connect with us through your social networking accounts. We're on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And you can go to qcstep.com/Facebook, and we are at QCStep on Twitter and Instagram. And there wasn't much action on our social networking profiles over the break, but I'm getting things started back up, and so there will be stuff on there. In addition to seeing job leads and getting links to articles on employment and just general tips on employment, you can also communicate with us on your social networking accounts, and you can submit to us questions on employment. And I have a question from a student to answer this week. Lucas asks, in an interview, should I ask how much I will be paid? In many of these questions that I get from students, you probably notice that there are some gray areas, and many times it just depends on your situation. But in my opinion, this is not one of those situations. My answer is this: no. Don't ask how much you will get paid. If you're in high school and you're applying for an entry-level position, you should assume that you will be earning minimum wage. I know that money will be on your mind. I mean, that is the reason that we work and that we want to work. But it's not worth the risk. You could potentially rub the interviewer the wrong way, and you could end up not being offered that position with that employer. And it's just not worth the risk. So again, my answer is no. In an interview, you should not ask how much you'll get paid. If you have a question that you would like me to answer on the podcast, you can submit it to me through our Facebook or Twitter, or you can email it to me, info@qcstep.com. I really enjoy answering your questions, and you can stay anonymous with your question. I only use a first name, and if you would prefer, I don't even need to use that. And if you have a question that you're nervous about asking, I would guarantee you that there are quite a few other students that probably have that same question, and I think that everyone would benefit from it. So, send in those questions. Leading up to the holidays, I did a few episodes on seasonal employment. I talked about why you should work a seasonal retail job. I talked about how to find a seasonal retail job. And then I talked with you about how to turn that temporary seasonal position into a permanent position. On this episode, I'm going to tell you what you should do if you were working a seasonal position and then it ended after the holidays. I realize that most of you watching and listening are not in this position, but a lot of what I'm going to talk about will apply to your situation too. A lot of these tips will work for you anytime you leave employment, and if you're working now, you will want to remember these things so that you can use them, whether you're leaving for another job or if you leave a job before you have another one lined up. So here are 4 tips on what to do after your seasonal employment has ended. Number 1, get references. Anytime you leave a job, you should talk with your supervisors and ask if you can use them as references on future applications. Make sure that you get all of the information on the business before you leave. Get the address and the phone number for the business because you're going to need that on future applications. You will need to know the dates that you worked there, and when you collect that information, put it in your pocket resume, or if you have a place in your career cruising or CIS accounts, enter it in there. And if you do employment portfolios in your STEP or your co-op class, put that information in there. Don't assume that you will remember the phone numbers and the dates. You may remember them in the short term, but you may need that information a year or two from now. And so get that information and write it down somewhere that you're not going to lose it and you're not going to forget where it is. Number 2, talk with the employer. Speak with the hiring manager and the store director or the store manager. If you have worked hard and you've done a good job, they aren't letting you go because of your performance. They're letting you go because their business is going to slow down and they brought you in as temporary employment to help them with their busy time. So when you talk with them, thank them for the opportunity to work for them during that holiday season. Tell them that you appreciate the opportunity and that the work experience is very valuable to you. Tell them that you would be interested in applying for a permanent position with their store and ask when they might have openings. While doing these things seems like common sense, I would guess that the large majority of seasonal employees don't do this. And by doing this, you can only help your chances of getting a permanent job in the future. Number 3, let your teacher know that your job has ended and that you would like to find another job. There are people around you to help you find a job, so let those people know. Tell your teacher and let Gary and Carrie know. And if you'd like to let Gary and Carrie know immediately, which is what I would suggest, you can email me, info@qcstep.com, or let us know through Facebook or Twitter, and I will pass it along to them. Your teachers and Gary and Carrie are the people that will give you specific advice on your situation. And you don't have to try to figure this stuff out on your own. That's what we're here for. Let us know what you need, and then we can help you. And number 4, get out there and apply. Your work skills are fresh and you're used to making money, so now is the time to start applying for jobs. If you start applying for jobs right away, then you don't have to try to explain any gaps in employment history. If you start applying right after the seasonal position ends, you'll appear motivated to work to potential future employers. Also, you might assume that January and February are pretty slow months for businesses and that it would be tough to find a job right now. But when I go through the current job leads here in a few minutes, you will see that there are actually quite a few businesses that are hiring right now. So now is the time. Apply for these positions. Having your seasonal employment end is sometimes a tough thing to face, especially if you liked the job and if you did well at the job. But it's not necessarily the end of the world. If you follow these 4 tips that I gave you, you will not only lay the groundwork with that employer to maybe return someday, but it will also get you on your way to using that work experience that you gained over the holidays to get another job. I mentioned that there are quite a few job leads this week, and it's pretty surprising because there are typically not that many job leads in January or February. And this tells you right here how far businesses are looking ahead. Whitewater Junction in Rock Island actually posted their summer positions already. We're in the 2nd week of January. So competition on these positions could be pretty tough this year. So don't sit back and wait. Apply for these positions now. And you should apply for these jobs maybe if you don't turn 16 until later in the spring, or if your parents don't want you to work during the school year, apply now. If you're looking for work right now and you hope to be working before the summer, go ahead and apply for these positions anyways. When it comes to applying for jobs, you can never apply for too many positions. You will hopefully have another job by then, but maybe over the summer you could work both jobs. And if nothing else, going through the application and the interview process would be good practice. So here are this week's job leads, and I'll start off with those summer jobs that I was talking about with Whitewater Junction in Rock Island. They're hiring slide attendants, they're hiring concession workers, and they're hiring ticket takers. And there's links to the online application. Each one of those positions has a different link, and so those are on our website. Sonic and Silvis is hiring crew members. You need to be able to run a cash register for that. And the Pizza Huts, all of the Pizza Huts in the Quad Cities are hiring. That's what it said on Indeed.com. So Kelowna and really all of them on the Illinois side, but especially Kelowna. I know some of you live in Kelowna that go to UT. And even Riverdale students, you might be near Kelowna, and there typically aren't that many job leads in that area. So take advantage of this and go ahead and apply now. And the link to the online application is there on our site. The Taco Bell in Rock Island, they're hiring cashiers and food prep. Lowe's in Davenport is hiring garden center workers, and I think you have to be 18 for that position. And then I do have some job leads for graduates, those of you that are watching or listening and you graduated at the end of the first semester and you're trying to find some work. The Petco in Moline is hiring cashiers. The Petco in Davenport is hiring sales associates. Lowe's in Davenport is looking for weekend team workers. FedEx in East Moline is hiring dock workers. DSW in Davenport, they're hiring just regular sales associates. And the Coca-Cola in Rock Island is hiring general laborers and warehouse workers. So, if you're interested in any of these positions and you would like help with the applications, you can contact Gary or Carrie through your STEP or your co-op teacher, or you can get a hold of them through me, through our social networking accounts, Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram, or you can email me, info@qcstep.com, and I will pass it along to them. Well, that does it for this week's episode of the podcast. And like I said earlier, you can send me your questions on employment, your work questions, through Facebook, Twitter, or through email. Thank you for listening and watching and downloading, and I will be back next week with another episode of the QC Step Podcast.